Spin it, let's begin it, bear and grin it when you're win. Wait, shit, that's fat. Spin it, let's begin it, bear and grin it when you're in it. Oh, nice. You can win it in a minute when you spin it, spin it.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Are they in the proper approach pattern for today?
Negative.
Hold the weapon! Now! Charge the lightning field.
We are going to talk today about Zabaloo.
It's almost like he should be running from Nazis in this show.
Well, I mean, he
Kind of is.
kind of is.
Kind of.
Kind of. I mean, we can get into a little bit of that. There's one, wow, remind me of that later.
Okay.
Because there's actually one specific Nazi story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a short story in Disney Adventures magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It had a group of dogs, I believe they're called the Hounds, that were distinctly identified as German. They dressed like Nazi soldiers from the Houndland.
Oh, boy.
They never reprinted that. I couldn't actually find the comic anywhere online, but I did look for it.
Disney's really good about, well, they used to be really good about disappearing things. It was really hard to actually find Song of the South for like a really long time.
Right, yeah.
They can't really do that anymore with the internet the way it is, but still, they're pretty proficient.
Marvel Disney Adventures Volume 2, Number 1, with Michael Jordan on the cover.
Oh, good. Then it has to be about Nazis.
TaleSpin, The Dogs of War.
Oh, boy.
Welcome back to Dispatch Ajax. This is your friendly bush pilot, Jake, and my co-pilot for this flight that you're on today.
Oh, I'm Skip. I'm the little kid.
Skip. Oh, it's a little skipper.
I'm the kid in it.
Little skipper cloud hopper.
I mean, close enough.
I mean, I didn't want it to go too on the bare nose, as it were.
Just the bare necessities. Nothing.
I, too, love that porn.
That sounds really softcore.
Yeah.
Oh, but here's the thing. This isn't actually technically a mainstream Dispatch Ajax episode. It is, in fact...
Retro rewind.
Thank God you remembered, because I wasn't going to do it.
We're going back in time.
Back in time! Huey Lewis, get out of here!
Hey, somebody get the broom.
I locked the doors. How did he get in here?
We are going back to our childhoods in the early 90s, where apparently things could just be on TV for like a year, but yet they will be seared into your brain forever. It's like they had 20 seasons. Almost every time we go back to do one of these cartoons, it's like, oh no, it had 4 episodes. And it's like, I saw that all the time. What?
Yeah, I had all the toys, but it was only on for 3 weeks. It's really crazy.
It was just a commercial after Bob Vila's home. That's the only way I know about it.
I had so much Captain Power shit. By the way, we have to do Captain Power. You remember Captain Power?
I have a vague recollection of Captain Power. Perhaps it would be a learning experience for myself as well.
Oh, it was a interactive TV show where if you bought the toy, it would get the ship and the pilot in it. And then at a certain scene, if they would shoot, the enemies would shoot, it would pop the guy out of the ejector seat of the ship while you're watching it.
Huh, no.
Crazy shit.
Well, that sounds like something we're going to have to cover that.
Yes, we definitely have to cover Captain Power.
I mean, plus it has Sven-Ole Thorsen in it, so
No, what?
done.
The Sven-Ole Thorsen?
The one and only.
Wow, that was a get.
Played, God, yeah, it doesn't even pull up. I don't care. We'll deal with
We'll
it.
talk about it later.
We'll do it live, all right?
Yeah, well, oh God, can you imagine us doing this live? 9 hours each episode would be.
Well, we'd have to really buckle down.
Rein it in, yeah.
Yeah, but we're not going to rein today in. Today we're talking about the Disney animated adventure TaleSpin.
And before any of you say, wow, that seems a little mainstream for the kind of stuff you do, this is a weird one. It's been sticking in our craw for decades because of how odd it is. But not out of the ordinary for what what Disney was doing at the time.
Well, yes and no. But I suppose we'll get into that as it comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, TaleSpin, TaleSpin, not a tailspin that a maneuver plane would go into, crashing down. It's a
reverse American tail. with Fievel.
Yes, yeah. And I put on that song the other day at work.
It was a duet, right? My mom used to make me try and learn it on the piano.
Let's see, who originally did Somewhere Out There?
I know it's
Linda
it's
Ronstadt
Linda
and
Ronstadt.
James Ingram.
Oh, it was James Ingram. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but they also had like the little kids doing it
Oh, yeah.
in the actual movie. I don't think the Linda Ronstadt version happens to like the end credits or whatever, but I could be wrong about that because I haven't seen that film in, I don't know, 30 years.
So. Oh, at least 30 years. We're in our 40s, 35 years maybe?
Well, it came out in 1986, so...
Okay. Oh, okay, so that would have been almost 40 years ago.
40 years, yeah. Fuck.
That's about right. I remember seeing it in the theater, so...
Yeah.
Boy, but anyway, this is a weird one.
It's a pun on a plane maneuver, but also it's another pun about spinning tales or yarns about the adventures in this animal land.
Animal land over there.
Which always does the thing. All of these anthropomorphic animated shows. I was watching an episode. It might have been one of the ones that we're going to cover here, but they talk about the Easter Bunny.
They talk about other fictional anthropomorphic...
One, there's always, in these anthropomorphic cartoon worlds, there are animals that walk upright and talk and have a personality and conscience, but there are also the lower animals where it's like they'll be going through a jungle and there are birds flying over them, or hogs running wild. It's like, well, wait, you're a bear. And you're a raccoon.
It's like it's racially stratified or something. Yeah.
What is the breakdown of that?
It's the goofy Pluto conundrum.
It is.
Yeah. It literally is, actually.
It drives me crazy. And that's not even getting into, like, if you do Easter Bunny, well, one, it's another anthropomorphic, fictionalized creature inside your universe, but it's also referencing Christianity?
Yeah.
Jesus?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Easter was a pagan holiday long before it was that. So you could kind of make a case.
I mean, I think we're going to have to take some leaps to get out of the Christian influence in this culture they've created.
Well, yeah, but you're going to have to take some leaps talking about anthropomorphic animals to walk upright and talk, too. So, I mean, So, like, in that scenario, especially, the Easter Bunny would be more like actual Jesus to them, ironically. Right? Because it's another
Easter
animal.
Bunny crucified for our sins.
Yeah, just that poor bunny nailed to a cross.
Would you nail each of his ears as well to a tiny little cross?
All four of them. No, it's just got a tiny protrudence at the top with another little bar, a little bar, or maybe a really wide one because they have big ears.
Are you doing like the feet? You just like, we ran out of nails, so we're just using one for both ears?
Yeah, yes. That's it. Exactly. Yep.
A long treatise on how we would crucify the Easter Bunny.
The Easter Bunny specifically. But you don't nail these feet because, I mean, they're very large, but, I just imagine dangling like it's a stuffed animal. Yeah. It was already dark, so...
this is an unpleasant image in my mind.
I didn't really go dark. It was already there. We just kind of stumbled across it.
Let's punch a spear into the side of that particular image and move along.
Pontius Pilate is like a ferret or something like.
Let's not get into any more.
He's one of the weasels from Roger Rabbit. That's what it is.
Maybe the hyenas from Lion King.
Hamlet. I mean Lion King. Yeah.
Don't you mean Kimba, the white lion?
That's exactly what I mean.
But this was not based on a Japanese cartoon from decades before. No, this was a really interesting kind of adult take on a cartoon tale that is a reference to the Rudyard Kipling Jungle Book and Second Jungle Book stories from many, many years before. It's odd because when they made the Jungle Book, they kind of took the source material and then did their own thing.
Disneyfied it.
Yes, completely Disneyfied it to where it's not even recognizable. The characters, especially the characters that are transported into the TaleSpin story, they bear no resemblance to the original. The Disney version of Baloo, essentially created from scratch. There is a bear of that name, but he's grave and sober, kind of a schoolmaster figure. In that story, Bagheera is actually the reckless and fun-loving one.
Baloo had to get sober so he could give Gus his kids back.
Baloo has to watch the orphan kids on Christmas time. And they run madcap adventures where they kind of learn about each other and realize
Rudyard Kipling, yeah. Kipling got into a lot of the legal procedural stuff in the divorce. It's kind of a dry read, but...
When they made Jungle Book, they made their own version of the story. And it's that version that is kind of transported by these creators into their own version. So Jim Magon, which I'm assuming that's how you say his name, because his name is a fucking fantasy character name.
It is.
Jymn.
Oh, I was going to mention that. Yeah, the weirdest way to spell Jim possible.
Yeah, what are you doing?
That's such a millennial name. That's like a...
Is it supposed to be Jaimin? Is that what...
Jaimin Hanso, that's his name.
Awesome, I love Jaimin Hanso.
Yeah.
But Jim Magon...
Magon, destroyer of worlds.
He's the kind of the main man responsible for this show.
Like Lobo.
What, is Lobo the main man responsible for the show?
Well, that's his nickname, the main man.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's a shitty thing a Bastich might say.
So you know that one, but you don't... But then how can you say... I keep pronouncing Bastich as if he's classy and sophisticated.
I
It's
imagine
Bastich.
Lobo more as like a... what's the rapey Looney Tunes skunk?
Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew.
I don't see that, strangely. I don't... I see more of a Wolverine analog, but...
I like my version better. So...
he's pretentious and smokes hand-rolled cigarettes.
I like that it's all a facade. That actually, when like he closes the door, you know, he takes off his big wig and he has like slick back French hair and he puts on a nice smoking jacket. And
Do the French have slick back hair? Is that a
Cognac.
stereotype?
no, but if he is a 1930s Frenchman of high esteem and wealth, then yeah, that's how I'm gonna cast him.
Then he was in the Vichy government.
He was settling in Malaysia. He had a plantation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, took off his wig and there was a beret underneath. He's wearing that black and white striped long sleeve shirt with suspenders.
I'm a high-ranking French Foreign Legion official.
He's smoking a baguette.
Smoking back. That'll fuck you up, man.
Dude.
So Jim, again, he's kind of the main creator for TaleSpin. He had been involved in both the creation of DuckTales and the Gummi Bars.
Gummibärchen?
And so Disney wanted to start the Disney Afternoon block of programming.
There was a name for this.
I think it was just called Disney Afternoon. But
I read this somewhere. There was a name for this that they were trying to push, but I don't think it's stuck. I can't remember. I'll think of it later.
all I can see is Disney Afternoon when I look for it. But,
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Continue.
So you had like the Gummy Bears and DuckTales and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and Darkwing Duck as part of that. But getting away from the duck and, I guess, chipmunk-based adventures.
Well, there weren't a lot of those. There was just the one, really.
Well, you know, it fits. It's a genre of its own. They were looking for other pitches for that. And Magon had an original idea for a sitcom called The Bee Players. So this is about one-time Disney animation stars and would-be stars trying to win a comeback or first-time roles in a toon version of Hollywood. Baloo was conceived of as one of the leading characters of the show. Horace and Clarabelle would also have been regulars. But when he pitched it, there wasn't much interest from Disney.
Well,
They didn't like that idea. They didn't see it had much of a future. It would have been kind of like a Roger Rabbit-y kind of thing.
I think that's got some action. That might have played. I
think
don't know.
yeah. I mean, if anything, it's kind of what the Rescue Ranger, no, not the Rescue Ranger, the Chip and Dale movie from a couple years ago did,
Oh, okay.
where they're kind of like, oh, these are old stars of animation. One went through like surgery to become CGI now. It was actually pretty good.
I regret now having seen it. I've heard it's sort of like on par with like Detective Pikachu and stuff, where it's surprisingly good.
Yeah, it is. It's like, oh, wow. I didn't really give this much of a chance, but it's funny. It's fairly well written. It's interesting.
I should go back and watch that. Yeah.
You don't need to carve out a slice of your life to see it, but it's a decent time.
Well, good thing I don't have one.
No life to carve out. So when they ixnayed that Magan idea, he dusted off a previous idea that he had been working on when he was working on DuckTales, because there'd been some idea to make a Launchpad McQuack show where he'd be the operator of an air freight service and the main character of the series.
They were obsessed with Launchpad. He was the only, real crossover between DuckTales and Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, I never really got it. But,
what is their thing? Did they think he was like Han Solo or something? I mean, what was the... he's kind of supposed to be a little bit, but Han is obviously based off an old archetype too. But that's why were they so obsessed with Launchpad? I don't get it.
I don't know. I guess they thought he had wings. Character could fly.
That's why he showed up later in a sitcom around the same era. Wings.
Wasn't Tony Shalhoub in that?
He was. He played a sort of a racially insensitive stereotype of a taxi driver.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, and that show actually had some decent actors in it. And then a couple that never did anything ever again, but,
Maybe later in this podcast, we're going to wing it ourselves, so.
With Paul McCartney.
No. But we will do the Paul McCartney cyborg that's been around since the early 80s, so.
He died in the 70s, remember?
Yeah, wasn't he replaced with a cyborg version?
Mm-hmm. It was a clone of Joe Biden, weirdly.
One of the Biden clones.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Robonet?
Robonet. Yeah, see, there you go. They're onto something now.
I was trying. I was
Robonet Biden.
It still sucked, but at least it was an idea of a joke.
No, there's something there. There's a twinkle in your eye. I can see it.
But when they'd come up with that idea, it didn't quite go anywhere. So Magan kind of took the concept and combined it with his B players pitch, and that was the genesis for TaleSpin.
Now, I have a question. So in the B players thing, was the idea that it was like the second leads in these different Disney properties?
I think so.
Because that's an interesting idea, actually. If it was like Baloo and then the candelabra from...
Yeah, the show was to be set in a Roger Rabbit-esque world where cartoons and humans coexist, focusing on Baloo and his comedic partner Ricky Rat. Who the F is that?
Yeah, fucking no.
As the two attempted to make their way to cartoon stardom and encourage their cast of side character partners.
It's kind of like extras in a certain way.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Actually, there's a lot of directions you could go with that. I kind of think that would be really cool.
The villain was to be an assistant director who was also a toon. Jealous of his incompetent director, J. Audubon Woodlore. Who the F is that?
I feel like this is coming from somebody's real place.
What the hell? J. Audubon Woodlore, fourth of the mischievous Humphrey the Bear? Who the hell's Humphrey the Bear?
I don't know what the hell any of this is.
Humphrey the Bear is from the 1950s. There's a bear in the Goofy cartoon? What the?
Wow. Oh, so it's a deep cut.
It all seems to be deep cut stuff. Baloo would be the main character. Ricky Rat. Peter Pointer Poocher Spaniel. Okay.
See, I'm already way more into this than what we got. And what we got, we used to watch all the time.
Fawn Deer, an air-headed toon deer who starred in toilet paper ads.
The more you dig into that, that sounds even cooler.
Timothy Tortoise, Roderick's slow-witted and lethargic flunky. Waldo Z. Platypus, a toon platypus who specialized in physical comedy, kind of like Gonzo.
What? These all have to be real deep-cut characters, right?
Buck Steed, a pompous and dumb horse toon who believes he didn't need a writer to be famous.
What a tragic character.
Yeah, again, an interesting idea.
Very. I could see why they would have no idea what the hell he was talking about, but...
Oh, yeah. No, I think it was maybe a little too high concept and probably worked to an older audience.
Yeah. But you know what? That's the kind of show they would make today, 100%. A show like that would totally play today and would have no shot in hell back then.
No, I don't think it would. Although it was coming off Roger Rabbit and like a Cool World and an Evil Tunes. You were kind of like doing that blending of live action cartoon stuff for an adult audience.
But that's just more like the format and setting. The concept, though, is something you would totally see today.
Yeah, and I think it could totally work.
Sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe, we'll get to it later, but they are remaking TaleSpin.
Yes, I've heard tales.
Yes. Oh, God.
I've heard DuckTales of this occurrence.
That joke was a feather in your cap, I think.
Yeah, they did remake DuckTales.
I didn't see any of that.
I didn't either. I heard good things, though. David Tennant.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it someday, but I'm not going to rush out to see it.
yeah, I mean, despite us covering TaleSpin, I wouldn't say either of us, we're definitely not Disney adults. We're not magical kingdom heads out here.
No.
So.
Though not to denigrate the demographic, I know a lot of people that I respect their opinions of pop culture that are obsessed with Disney, that go to Disney World every year, like, okay, great. Not for me necessarily, but I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoy.
Yeah.
It seems like an expensive hobby.
Yeah, no
But,
shit.
to each their own. But I've just never been that into Disney. I kind of stopped watching most of the Disney cartoons after, I don't know, my teens.
Yeah, well, I was more of a Warner Brothers guy anyway.
The great Looney Tunes versus Disney debate, kind of like your Marvel versus DC.
Yeah, it kind of is the same. Yeah, Coke versus Pepsi, the whole like weird dichotomies we used to have, the duo world we used to live in. Bugs Bunny was more like Groucho Marx, and it was witty and it was funny, and Mickey was kind of an idiot, and and Goofy was slapstick. Like I would much rather watch something funny and witty, than Steamboat Willie or whatever the fuck. I just don't give a shit.
Oh, sorry, milady. I have to get back home. Steamboat Willie is coming on for the 574th time, and I've got to be there.
Which is now literally in the public domain.
Oh, yeah. I saw there's the guy who's in Terrifier. He's in the Steamboat Willie horror movie they're making.
Oh, so it's like the Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, which is what they're doing with all of these. Screamboat is what they're calling it.
Whatever. I mean, I get the novelty. I don't dislike the idea of making that kind of movie, but if they're just going to crank these out without a lot of like actual, like, conceptual effort, then whatever.
No, I mean, it's the same way you get Cocaine Bear and then Crackoon and Meth Gator.
Oh, yeah, there's a shark one too.
Yeah, I think that one's just like Cocaine Shark.
I think it is just Cocaine Shark, actually.
So boring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cocaine Bear wasn't even all that good, but
no,
at least
Cocaine Bear wasn't.
Even though it was a true story. Wasn't that Elizabeth Banks? Didn't she do that one?
I want to say yes.
I think she's done a bunch of okay-ish movies. That's like her entire... I'm glad she's directing, and I don't think the direction is necessarily the problem with any of the films, because she did that reboot of Charlie's Angels, and she did... she was at least in that Power Rangers reboot. It's just those aren't great movies.
Fact. When Jim Magan was asked about attracting a more adult audience, he mentioned that we've always had it in the back of our minds that we want to do something a little grittier than, say, DuckTales or Rescue Rangers. And when TaleSpin came along, we said, oh boy, this is great.
Tony the Tiger jumped into frame.
It definitely has a sophistication that a lot of other TV animation lacks. He also went on to say, well, at the time and locale of the show both suggest those old movie serials of the 30s. It was a very exciting time to be a kid, when things were still exotic and mysterious. So we want to do a Terry and the Pirates kind of show. Also, what appealed to us about the era was the scale of things. Today, technology has miniaturized everything, which isn't visually exciting, but in that era, anything powerful was really big, which is great for a cartoon show. We've also got atmosphere of that time with the nightclubs, Art Deco, and the old cars. It just gives the show an exciting feel.
Yeah. There is still that lens of Western racism about all of the whole, like, everything was exotic and discovering new things, which were just things that were already there that white people don't know about.
When they say discovering, it means white people found out about them.
That's exactly what they mean, yes. Pioneers, settlers.
I should probably get into a little bit of what the show was before we get too into some of its source material. TaleSpin it's kind of set in this 1930s-ish era where there seems to have been some type of Great War, but yet it's pre-television. It's really undefined. But it's kind of this 1930s, 1940s adventure serial vibe. Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a pre-World War II, post-World War I
yes.
era.
where Baloo, he's kind of the ace cargo pilot making runs to different islands in kind of a tropical setting. He's a very careless businessman. He gets his business and his plane foreclosed upon. He loses it to the bank. And then Rebecca Cunningham.
We have to address this fact. You've got Baloo. You've got Shere Khan. You've got Kit Cloudkicker. You've got Don Carnage. You've got Mad Dog. And then Rebecca Cunningham.
Or Becky for short. Yeah,
One of these things is not like the other.
It's very odd.
Rebecca and Molly Cunningham, too. Don't forget.
Yes. Oh, her small child, because she's a single mother who has invested her life's fortune because she wanted to have her own business, and she thinks that she can turn Baloo's failing cargo pilot biz into a cash cow. There's also a Wildcat, which is their mechanic, who's a tiger, I think. No, he's a lion. I think he's a lion.
I think he's a lion.
There's also Kit Cloudkicker, which is kind of, I'll be honest, he kind of felt like the Wesley Crusher of the show.
Oh, he's the Richie.
Yes, this pseudo, I wouldn't say main character, but there's long-term main character vibes from this kid.
I think he's supposed to be the one that kids relate to. This is obviously sort of geared toward adults.
A lot of the drama comes from real-world adult situations.
Mm-hmm.
Baloo couldn't manage his finances, and he lost his plane, and he just wants to do his job and do it to the best of his ability. And this woman has bought it, and now has turned him into an employee.
Yeah, it's Rebecca from Cheers, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that here in a minute.
Just from picking characters from the Jungle Book alone, like back then, you really would only have known that when you saw it as a kid. I mean, they had it on VHS, but it wasn't like it was like on TV all the time or anything. It was very obviously, I think, supposed to tap into the nostalgia of people of a certain age that watched it when they were young. And so I think they put Kit in there to like give you the little kid tie-in so the kids would relate to it.
Because unlike a DuckTales, where the trio are kind of like your front and center, this is kind of a story about grown-ups.
Yeah.
Doing adult
grown-up
things with adult concerns.
Yeah, real X-rated stuff.
Man, Baloo had a hell of a hog, and that thing was not anthropomorphized at all.
She got Balooed, you know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
More than once they reference a Baloo job. I mean, I don't know how you paint that up for kids, but...
In a lot of ways, it harkened back to the Carl Barks stories. You know, the Scrooge McDuck kind of thing. A little more adult-tinged, less kiddie. It was still very relatable to kids, adventure tales, just with adult versions and concepts at the underpinning.
And adult dynamics. DuckTales, that's a little more simple. Huey, Louie, Dewey have a rich uncle, they go on wacky adventures. This one, it's about failure and loss and economic turns and...
Yeah, Baloo wants financial freedom.
And then interpersonal dynamics that are way more complicated than DuckTales.
Yeah, both the main characters want to be good father and or mother figures to the small ones in their life.
Yeah, another non-traditional family, which is fascinating, especially for Disney at that time.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting and not of the time.
As we go along, I think we can make some argument about some of the other things in this weird era for Disney, like Goof Troop, for instance, but I'm sure we'll stumble across that as we go.
We might. I mean, if you want to talk about the dynamics of the Baloo-Becky relationship, you know, how it is distinctly based on Cheers as inspiration.
And a little bit of moonlighting.
Yeah, a little moonlighting.
There's a lot of will they, won't they, which is really bizarre for a kid's Disney show, especially like an after-school show in 1990. It definitely has a post-Diane Cheers archetype, because that show is definitely about Cheers is two different shows. But the Rebecca era Cheers thing, it's right there. They don't even cover it up. Her name is Rebecca Cunningham, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were distinctly going for that vibe. Apparently, in the original version, she's more corporate. You know, like she came in with like a suit, and she came from money. They decided to tone that down, make her a little more working class,
which is actually, I think, more complex and more nuanced. As much as it sounds like they're dumbing it down, it actually, I think, adds another level of class commentary and things, because otherwise it's like, She could have basically been the villain from Major League, but
Right. But making her a more relatable character with their own goals. You had Shere Khan for that kind of corporate elite class dynamic. For her, she's just a struggling businessman who's trying to deal with this lazy a-hole that she's kind of stuck with.
on top of being a single mom.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think toning the corporate thing down, on paper, you would think, oh, they made it more capitalist friendly. But no, it actually adds another big layer of the struggle of making it in the world with all of these challenges.
Yeah. You make her kind of a rookie entrepreneur who's put all of the money she has into this business. You know, kind of a bad idea, really. But she's just trying to like get through and make it day to day and try to make this thing work. Same way Baloo is the same way like we all are, as opposed to making her from money who inherited the business and has put Baloo on the payroll to do his duty. There was this burgeoning relationship that they got into a little bit.
As much as a Disney show was going to.
Right. They're not taking any long breaks in the back or anything.
There's no disclosure moment that happens.
Yeah, so they have this business. It was originally Baloo's Air Service. Great name, Baloo.
Nailed it.
But then she turned it into Hire for Hire.
It's actually pretty good.
It's a good name. I had completely forgotten about that before I went and rewatched some of these. And I was like, oh, no, that's...
Pretty damn clever, actually.
Pretty smart. One of the only other people from the Jungle Book is the Louie character, the orangutan. Is that right?
He is an orangutan. Yeah.
He is the proprietor of an island restaurant, bar, airplane refueling station, kind of like Rick's in Casablanca.
Yes.
Anybody can gather there. It's neutral territory. Maybe he did some stuff back in the day, but he's just out slinging drinks and being the place to be.
Yeah, I was going to make the Casablanca analogy earlier with like the setting. I know Casablanca happens during World War II, but this is very much in that kind of world. Yeah, Louis the Rick's or Guinan kind of vibe. That's really, really interesting. I think this actually has a lot of parallels with Casablanca too, actually.
It does, but perhaps it has the most parallels with an underseen 1980s TV show that the writers and creators spoke about being an influence called Tales of the Golden Monkey.
I had never heard of this before we looked into this.
I had never heard of this either. It was a primetime Wednesday night ABC show that ran from September 22nd, 1982 until January 1st, 1983.
Okay. So 3 months? Okay.
Yeah. It had 22 episodes.
That's a full season.
Yeah, they got into it.
I'm just shocked I'd never even heard about this.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of TV.
Completely fallen into obscurity. But it is a adventure show released in the year after Raiders of the Lost Ark. So getting a little bit of those vibes. Early aviation, indigenous locals, a lot of action. And came from the mind of Don Belisario. When this failed, he would go on to use some of the actors and the adventures of an ace pilot concept into his 1984 to 86 tech chopper adventure Airwolf.
Fuck yeah, Airwolf.
And then did some stuff with Magnum PI and JAG later on. But it tells the story of 1938 in the South Pacific, an ex-fighter pilot, Jake Cutter. Now he operates an air cargo service, delivering in the South Seas, the island of Bora Gora.
Okay.
He flies the Grumman Goose, which is called Cutter's Goose. They distinctly took those names for the sea duck in TaleSpin. He has a best friend named Corky, who's the pilot, kind of a drunk and a goof, a lot like Wildcat. He has a one-eyed Jack Russell Terrier. In the opening scene of the show, he bets his dog's glass eye that has like gems in it and whatnot in this poker game against Nazis that he loses. And so at least in the pilot, he's trying to get enough money to buy the eye back for his dog. And the dog also will bark. He can communicate. So he barks, think one bark for no, two barks for yes. But then maybe it's the opposite. And it's two barks for no, one bark for yes, which is how they had this should I bet your eye or shouldn't I bet your eye at the beginning of the show.
They did a bit.
Yeah,
with
they
it?
did a bit. It's actually, It's one of the more enjoyable parts. It's good dog acting, I will say that.
Nice.
So then you have this woman that comes into the business. She turns out to be a U.S. spy, but she's a singer, dancer, possible movie star vibe. You also have Bonchance Louis, played by Roddy McDowall.
Wow. Good time, Louis? That's awesome.
The owner of the Monkey Bar. And the French magistrate of Boragora. Again, Louis runs this bar where everybody congregates after the war.
Gotcha.
Then there's the main villain, Japanese princess, who's not played by a Japanese actress.
Oof. Even in the mid-'80s? Wow.
Yeah, well, early 80s. You also have this German reverend who is preaching the gospel to the island, but
Oh, boy.
his gospel is that he will do special blessings with the young women alone.
Oh, they were early on in this one, huh?
Yeah, his private prayers. In the first episode, there's this, I don't know, maybe she's 18, 17, 18, Asian actress who's just like, blessing, can I have blessing? And he's like, not now, we'll deal with it later.
Oh,
Good
God.
things to come, those who wait.
The video for like a prayer is playing in the background.
But the main bad guy is the money man from Airwolf. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, with the eye patch?
Yes, with the eye patch.
Okay. He always wore a white suit. Fucking ruled.
No, I'm thinking of the wrong guy.
Oh, are you thinking about the old British guy?
Yes.
No, that was Knight Rider.
Was it Knight Rider? Oh shit, William Forsythe's in a couple episodes.
Oh, interesting.
You totally recognize him. He plays this German officer who's like one of the main bad guys.
All right.
Branson Richcombe is in some episodes.
Wow.
That's something. But yeah, so Tales of the Golden Link was definitely a resource for the ideas of the show. Both Megan and Mark Zaslav, who's the other main creator of TaleSpin, both referenced it for some of the characters, Balloon's plane, and the vibe of the show, because it's very much similar. The pilot has to go on adventures and discover new lands.
It's a lot of smuggling and, yeah, I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
kind of, same trope that they use for Han Solo, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. And from what I've seen of Tales of the Golden Monkey, it was like an hour-and-a-half pilot. I got mostly through it. It's weird. Opening scene is a couple of German explorers shoot weird monkey creatures and then get killed by them. That's how the show opens.
Okay. It got my attention.
Yeah, it felt very like Congo,
Oh, okay.
but with much less money.
Well, much less wasted money.
I don't hate Congo. What's all
You
Congo
don't hate Congo?
I don't hate Congo, no.
It's terrible. It's really bad.
We watch much worse things, and there's some,
course.
some positives there.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you see Jurassic Park and then you see Congo, and you're like, well...
You know, I can have my steak and I can have a burger. You know, they're not incompatible. I may
Which
not
is
eat
worse.
at the same time, but
I double fist them.
I can't get enough. Put more meat in my mouth.
I got a steak shake, get a steak burger, baby.
You've combined the two things that could not be combined.
You didn't stop to ask yourself, should we do a thing?
You slapped it on a
Steak
lunchbox.
finds a way.
And you sold it.
Put it in a plastic lunchbox?
Oh, we didn't talk about the villains.
No, not at all. Or really a lot of the same main setup and premise yet. We've got that part, but we don't have the other...
Yeah, so obviously there are things that are going to get in Baloo and Kit and Becky's way, as it were. You have Shere Khan, one of the 3 characters from the actual Jungle Book story, but in this he's a corporate tycoon.
He's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, always in a suit, looking very suave. He's the big dick swinging money, trying to undercut them, put them out of business. He has his own crew of Panther pilots.
He's got minions.
It's a good look.
He's dark and mysterious and always has plans within plans. But, I mean, the representation of ruthless corporate evil. A very 80s trope. Very relevant one.
Yeah, if anything, he'd be kind of like, I don't know, I mean, like, whatever the wealthy people that were going against Scrooge McDuck all the time.
I don't even remember.
Well, I didn't read that much Scrooge.
Did he have a... Read Scrooge? I mean, did he have a wealthy foil?
He did.
I don't know. It seems like he did. I just can't remember.
Flintheart Glomgold?
Okay.
Another wealthy person who was always...
I mean, we can get into DuckTales at a different time because that's also something really interesting.
He's another ambitious, ruthless, manipulative businessman. He's a South African-American Peking duck.
Oh, boy, does that... Wow, that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There was also John D. Rocker Duck.
No, of course. Of course they were going to go to Rockefeller stuff.
Yeah.
Those are all stand-ins for like Carnegie and Rockefeller and, you know.
The other main bad guy in the show, I would say, that consistently popped up was Don Carnage.
Don Carnage.
I'd say he's probably one of the funnier elements of the show.
Sure.
But he's kind of the rakish leader of a pirate society.
They're sky pirates.
Yes.
Which is a really weird thing we need to talk about. Because being a sky pirate doesn't seem lucrative or effective. Okay, so you have pirates on ships and you have boats. And the boats are steady. They're in the water. You can go from A to B or whatever. A plane being attacked by other planes... is a really weird, forgive the pun, nebulous idea. Where you're like,
if you shoot
doesn't make sense.
A flying contraption that is thousands of pounds and it loses control and crashes into something, thus giving you the opportunity to board it and take its stuff, you're going to find it a big heap of wreckage. Instead of a viable source to be mined from and sold to someone?
Well, it's not like in Mad Max where you're on the road and you're chasing somebody and it's, you catch up with them and they're still there on the ground, or you're in the water and you're on a boat and you get to the boat and the boat can sink, but most of the time boats are just going to float. This one, you're hanging in the air, flying around. Like, the pirate thing doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I think in the pilot, the first time you see them attack another plane, it's one of Shere Khan's planes, they put grappling hooks on each wing.
Yes, they do.
And then they kind of force it down to land on the water and then, I guess, steal the plane and or all of its goods.
That was the only time I think they kind of addressed that weird disconnect there. Yeah, and they do. You're right. They have a whole scene where they show how they pirate planes. It's just as a general concept, it doesn't really seem to work very well. You know what I mean?
No. But I think it's a one of those rule of cool because it sounds Sky Pirate. Yeah,
Sky Pirate.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
It's like an ice pirate. Yeah,
like an ice pirate. Wow.
We have to talk about ice pirates.
We do need to talk about ice. There's a lot and a very little going on with ice pirates.
100%.
Yeah. So the voices of TaleSpin were, a mix of what you'd call like face actors and veteran voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted Phil Harris, who did the original voice of Baloo in the Jungle Book cartoon. But at the time that they were making TaleSpin, he was 85. He had trouble recreating the voice. Plus, it was like a 4-hour round trip from Palm Springs every time. It didn't end up working out. So I believe that he was the voice for the pilot and maybe a couple episodes, but then they kind of went with Ed Gilbert for the majority of everything. I think for other times he re-recorded the stuff that Harris had done. He was your main actor for that. You had Sally Struthers. She was doing Rebecca Cunningham. And it was hot, let me tell you.
Said no one ever about Sally Struthers. Sally Struthers says Rebecca Cunningham comes in and says, "Do you want to make more money?" Sure, we all do. Nobody gets that reference? Do you not remember those commercials?
No.
So Sally Struthers used to do these commercials for I think it was like a DeVry type trade school where she would just come on and be like, "Do you want to make more money?" Sure, we all do.
Okay.
And then this whole thing,
right.
Her delivery and everything was so awful and dry and answering her own question that it always stuck out to me. That's kind of all she did until this.
Yeah, well, coming off doing the voice of Teenage Pebbles in the Hanna-Barbera Pebbles and Bam Bam show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot if that show existed.
You had her in All in the Family. I think she was pretty big in that.
Yeah, that was her big thing, yeah.
Yeah. Before her roles in the Gilmore Girls, huh?
Oh, yeah, she is in the Gilmore Girls. I was thinking in that, wow, what had she been doing between those things? After those commercials in the 90s, I don't remember Sally Struthers at all until Gilmore Girls. She kind of disappeared.
Well, she was that one episode of Fish Police.
Oh, yes, Fish Police, yes. The funny thing is, I know exactly what you're talking about. The Simpsons even make a joke about that show in one of the Treehouse of Horror episodes.
She was the mom in Dinosaurs.
Really? She was?
Yeah,
the
she was
mom?
Charlene Sinclair. I did not know that.
It doesn't sound like her.
Acting!
She's so well known for her varied accents and vocal work.
Wait, which one was... Wow.
No, I don't think she was the mom.
No, that was actually the Jessica Walter, I think, from Arrested Development.
Oh, that would make sense.
Fran Sinclair, but I don't know who Charlene Sinclair. She said she was in 64 episodes, which is...
She might be the daughter.
Oh, okay. Which I guess would make sense if she was playing Pebbles before.
Yeah.
You know, teenage Pebbles. Might as well have her...
A teenage dinosaur is 1-to-1. It's the logical next step.
You jump right in. It's the kind of two sides of the same coin, really.
Yeah, it's the next step in evolution.
And then Kit was voiced by a couple child actors who had names, but we will move past those.
Guaranteed, they had names.
I guarantee it.
You had Shere Khan, played by Tony J,
Mm-hmm.
a veteran character actor. And this is one of the few things in this that I know way too much about. But this is a crossover with a phenomenon that sadly is still going. Conservative Christian organization Focus on the Family, run by James Dobson, a complete asshole, produced kids programming starting in the, I think, the late 80s, and still going to this day, a radio drama.
That all the kids are into.
You would be shocked at how many kids know about this and have heard it growing up, especially evangelical kids. It's called Adventures in Odyssey, and Tony J was a reoccurring voice actor on that, where he played... obviously one of the villains because of his voice, because he's got a great villain voice.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of these actors who were relatively mainstream that did do a lot of crossover with this just because it was steady voice actor work. Like the guy that was the constable in Young Frankenstein, he's in a ton of that show. The actor who plays the voice of Milhouse, she's in a ton of that show. It's really awful in 100% indoctrinating and brainwashing kids into evangelicalism, and has really weird messages about the deep state, about pro deep state. It's really, really a bizarre show, but there's a lot of crossover with these rotating character actors in that too. And it's all around the same era, but I mean, hey, it was a paycheck, so you can't really fault them. Of course, here in this, we've got, I mean, you'll see guys like Frank Welker come up in TaleSpin. And Lorenzo Music, one of the great voice actors of all time. Lorenzo Music played Sergeant Dunder in 7 episodes. Frank Welker played basically whenever they needed somebody to fill in for 17 episodes, he was in there.
Yeah, he would do a lot of side stuff there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, he's a guy that's always available. He's like Mark Hamill now, or Tom Kenny. You know, he's there, he'll do it, and he'll crush it every time.
Lorenzo Music played Tummy Gummy on the Gummy Bears.
Completely coincidental name.
Oh, Tummy Gummy.
He's got a gummy tummy.
You know. And then you had Jim Cummings, who was kind of like the MVP of the show. He did Louie, Don Carnage, and a host of other guest characters.
Which is weird, because he's only in 42 episodes. The show ran 66?
Yes, 66. Well, it says he's in 48. But that's probably different characters, so maybe Louie's in an episode when Don Carnage isn't, kind of thing.
So here's one of the problems with IMDb, is that it is often... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of R.J. Williams. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
The guy who played Kit.
One of the guys who played Kit.
Yeah, one of the guys. That's why he's only in 42. Yes, Jim Cummings is in 48. Yes, he was Don Carnage, yes.
Jim was coming in TaleSpin.
He's coming and coming. If you've ever watched Pumping Iron.
Playing a sky pirate, it's like Jim Cummings.
It's just like Jim Cummings over and over again. It's the best feeling in the world.
TaleSpin had a higher standing generally of writing in its episodes compared to other things like DuckTales, as Jim Magan was kind of like the supervising producer, effectively what we'd call a showrunner today, had an effect of keeping the series' sense of humor, which was like a little sharper, much more rapid fire than DuckTales or Rescue Rangers, but it also avoided the Looney Tunes inspired like anything for a laugh style of humor that you'd sometimes get in like a Darkwing Duck or some later DuckTales episodes. Magan Zasloff both wrote a bunch of episodes, but you also had Don Rosa wrote a couple episodes. One of the guys behind the old Carl Barks Uncle Scrooge comics. He actually wrote some of the TaleSpin episodes.
I used to have some of those old comics. I think they were an actual Disney imprint. It wasn't Gold Key, I don't think. I think it was an actual Disney comics imprint.
Yeah, I mean, they had multiple.
This would have been in like the 50s and 60s.
Probably one of the more recognizable things, especially from the memory box that we keep TaleSpin in, would be its theme song.
Oh, yeah.
So Michael and Patty Silvershire did the theme song, kind of this calypso-influenced adventure song, which I remember liking as a kid. But when I heard it, rewatching these, after the first time, I was like, no, I do not need to hear this ever again. No, sir, I do not like it.
I like the breakdown part, you know, and in the opening credits, it's this really weird shot of Baloo from an episode, clip from Baloo from an episode dressed as Carmen Miranda with maracas or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that part slaps. It's obviously just a tiny part of it, but I was thinking about that from in this era of these cartoons, between DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, and this is the weakest of those songs.
Yeah, I mean, DuckTales is by far the song of Disney cartoons.
I think so. I think closely followed by Darkwing Duck, though.
I don't remember Darkwing Duck at all.
Yeah, pull it up. And
pull it up. Let's hear it. Oh, this was the...
It was their more urban-inspired theme, let's just say.
When they get to the Darkwing Duck chorus, I think that's pretty good. I don't necessarily care for the hip-hop influenced stuff in between.
We got that sweet saxophone, though.
TaleSpin is the weakest of all of those.
I didn't watch Rescue Rangers. I am aware of it, and I've seen episodes. I wasn't a fan of that one, but it had a pretty memorable theme, too. I wonder, looking back now, if it's better or worse than TaleSpin, because TaleSpin's, I still kind of enjoy.
I just listened to that as well. Rescue Rangers is better. I think Rescue Rangers would probably be second, in my opinion.
Really? Okay.
But still, nothing's beating DuckTales.
Oh, no, DuckTales is a jam.
Yeah, so I'd say that's kind of like my little breakdown for the idea of the series, people involved in creating it, where the show came from. Again, it lasted 66 episodes. Originally, the pilot was a feature-length movie that later on, when it came to syndication, got broken up into 4 separate episodes. But it did get nominated and won an Emmy for Best Original Animated Feature. It was, I think, that year the only thing nominated, so it won by default.
Default.
But it still counts as a win. Quickly after its first run, it did go into syndication, and then one on the Disney Network has had different iterations. Strange enough, it's had lots of different editing throughout its run. I found a whole website dedicated to just the different edits of TaleSpin episodes.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It was a lot. And again, hey, thanks for checking out the pod. I'm seeing what we're chatting about. Until we get on our own Sea Duck and fly away collectively, Skip, what should they do?
Well, I think they should probably listen to us more. Christ's sake, we need it. For the sake of the Easter Bunny, please. Listen to our show.
Crucified for your sins.
Make sure that you guys out there have cleaned up after yourselves to some sort of reasonable degree, that you have paid your tabs, your bartenders, your KJs. You've left sizable tips for the hard work that they do. Don't forget to support your local comic shops and retailers. And from Dispatch Ajax, we would like to say Godspeed, fair wizards.
Please, go away.